Hey guys, so it's mid-August and people's AC systems, especially their central AC systems, are running at full load, and sometimes they're running from early morning when the sun comes up all the way till bedtime. So I'm going to show you 3 very common reasons your AC is either broken or not working efficiently. And the great thing about this, you can do this. There's no special skills needed to do these 3 things to get your AC either working again from a complete stop or to make it perform even better. I can tell you that the third way I'm going to talk about has decreased the temperature coming out of my vents throughout the house incredibly. So there's a huge difference, and I can tell a difference in the overall comfortable level of the house. And the AC is not cutting on as frequently. But these 3 things anybody can do, and I would recommend doing it before you call an AC or HVAC professional. It makes it a whole lot easier to do it yourself and a heck of a lot less expensive. So guys, let's head into the garage. I'm going to show you the first thing you need to do to check your AC system, and there's only a few things you need to do to make sure that you don't have a complete failure or what could turn out to be a catastrophic situation that will involve a lot of water damage. So this is the utility area of my garage, and what I wanted to tell you is I have a PDF that is basically an annual 4-part guide to air conditioning maintenance on your home. You can do this. There's a few items in here that you may need to call a professional for, but you can download this for free. Just go to the link in the description to Patreon and you'll see this exact air conditioning maintenance guide, parts 1 through 4, and you can download it at no cost. If you want to help the channel, that'd be great. You can join up to Patreon, but this won't cost you a dime to get it. Now, the first thing you need to do when we do this procedure is you need to go to your breaker panel and flick the AC off. So make sure there's no power headed to your AC so there won't be any possible accidents in doing this. So that's step 1. Now, you could have a secondary control around your air conditioner, and you want to make sure, such as this, what appears to be a light switch is actually an on-off switch for my AC system. So in addition to our circuit breaker, also cut the AC off on your control panel inside. If it's digital or old-fashioned, you may need to do that first if it's digital, but also check around your AC and make sure you don't see a switch like this that you need to make sure all 3 are off. So all of the central AC units in my area are going to have one of these. It's a condensation line, and your system is going to produce water when it's running in the summertime, especially when you're in a very high humid environment. This line right here will allow the water that collects inside of the pan, inside of your AC, will take it to the exterior. But often algae, bacteria, and mold can grow in this line. So there's one thing specifically you need to do. You'll get some, what I feel is not good advice on what to pour down in this drain. And specifically, you need to know how to pour it into the drain as well. This trap right here is a lot of time where that mold can grow because there's often standing water in this water trap. Also at the top of these, it may be slightly different on yours. Mine does not have an automatic cutoff float switch. So you may have that and you may have to remove it to get into there. But that's one thing, that reason if your air conditioner just suddenly completely cuts off and you have no power to it, it could be because the float switch, the water level has risen in your condensation line and cut off the float switch. So that could be the issue. You'll call an AC or HVAC guy. He'll come out, and if he's honest, he'll tell you it's just your float switch and your condensation line is the real culprit of your AC system not working. So I'm very lucky that my system is in the garage and not in an attic and not in a hallway closet, but a lot of homes, this is the case. Your entire system on the interior is sometimes in the attic and in a hallway closet or anywhere like that, in an upstairs utility room, laundry room. But my system has overflowed on 2 different occasions because this line became stopped up because of that algae and other things growing in it. And there's a pan in here that will collect it, but once it becomes too high, it can literally spill out into the floor. And if you have this, like I said, in an attic or in a hallway closet on a 2nd floor or wherever, you can have major damage to your sheetrock. It can ruin your carpets, and if you go away for a day or 2 and your AC continues to run, you can have a lot of water come in and do a lot of damage. So that's why it's so important to do this first step, not only to prevent your AC from just shutting down suddenly if you do have that float switch or float switch that I talked about earlier. I guess some people might call it a float valve or something like that. But anyways, you need to make sure that you do this first step out of the 3 we're talking about to make sure that you don't have a major catastrophe in your home. So this is what I call my annual maintenance bag, and it's just a freezer bag that I have hanging on a hook close to the AC. And there's a few items in here that I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you exactly how to put this together. And so when you do have an issue, or if you have it set on a timer such on your phone or something like that, you can go to this bag, get it out, and you know exactly what to do. So it's all there handy, and I'll put links in the description if you don't have anything listed on this video. So this is just a common everyday cork, and I ordered a set of them for some other projects I have. But if you don't have this type of cork that will fit a piece of 3/4 PVC, which is most of the time what you see in these condensation lines, it could be 1/2 inch, but I think that would be kind of rare, maybe not up to code. But mine is 3/4 inches. So we're going to go outside and I'm going to show you exactly how to use this in this first step. So it's a bit of a jumbled mess in here because there's electrical lines and other things coming out of this hole inside of the house. But we're going to take our cork and put it into the PVC and make sure it's properly sealed. We'll do this first because this is the first step, and the important step that you need to do is you need to seal the end, the very end of your condensation line. And you may have a very long one. I'm going to tell you a way where you can calculate how much liquid you need to put in here, but it's a very specific liquid. Now our goal here is not to overfill this and allow the liquid we're pouring into the top here to go back into the drain pan, because it can cause issues for the system. So we want to make sure we don't overfill. So I've got a calculation that I've done, and I'll put it up on the screen right here, about how much 3/4 PVC, Schedule 40 and Schedule 80 pipe, and you can read that on the pipe. Usually it'll tell you whether it's Schedule 40 or Schedule 80. How much liquid you can put into an 8-foot piece. Now if your system is already clogged up and filled with water, then it's a different calculation. But if it's completely empty and draining properly and you just want to do a cleaning of the system or the condensing line, then you'll know based on how many feet. You'll have to calculate that yourself and then go by what I said on the Schedule 40 and Schedule 80 pipe as to how much of our liquid we can pour into the top of our condensation line. Now let's go back to my AC maintenance bag here, and I have something in here that I've made specifically for my specific drain based on the depth from the top to the first 3/4 turn, and I'll explain that in just a second. So this is just a common kitchen funnel. You can buy these anywhere, and I'll put a link to this tubing because it may be a little bit harder to find. But if you can't find the funnel or the tubing, again, the link will be in the description where you can order it and have it shipped to you. But if you already have something like this, you can put it together pretty easy. And so just having this in your annual or quarterly maintenance bag, however often you like to do maintenance, this is a key component of it. And let's go back over to the drain line. I'll show you how this works. Now again, the reason we're doing this is we don't want to pour our liquid back into the system. We want it to go further down the drain line and bypass this little offset right here. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of this plastic rubber tubing, whatever it's made out of, so I can get it all the way down to our first bin. That may be a little bit tricky, but we want it to set just on top. So we know that it comes to about right here because I measured it before I cut it. So we know when we pour our liquid in here, it comes right down to the base. Now some people are going to tell you to use bleach or other really strong chemicals, and I am using a chemical, I won't deny that, but this chemical is something you could use in your salad dressing, so it's a lot safer and it won't corrode or damage anything. And it's biodegradable once it makes it outside, so you don't have to worry about pets or children coming in contact with it. So let's suppose you've had a water leak and there's water all around your system, or let's say you had a float switch at the very top and it has completely shut down your system. The most likely area where the problem is in this trap right here. A lot of times the algae, the bacteria, and the mold build up in this area, and so we need to clean that out first before we go on to this go on to this step. So like I said, this is the most likely culprit, but we need to do that real quick before we try to put any more liquid in here, because it's just going to exacerbate the problem. So we just want to make sure that our line is completely clean all the way to the outside. So I'll show you the device I use for that, and it's really simple, and you can order this as well. So the next thing I have in my maintenance bag is one of these cleaning tools, and it's two-sided. This one's a little bit larger and this one's a little bit smaller, but it's extremely flexible, and we can snake it into the line and get it around this corner. It's a little bit hard to get around this 90-degree, but I'll show you a piece of PVC that if you want to add it to your system, it'll make it a whole lot easier to clean out your drain, especially around the trap where you're going to have the most likely problem and buildup. So if you can't get it around this 90, and these snakes are not perfect, they have been known to get a little bit stuck in here, so I'll show you something you can add to it that'll make sure that you can get to this trap here without having an issue. Now, I'm sorry, I'm in a cramped area here, so I know the lighting's not great, but this right here is the problem I've had in the past about getting my snake past that so I could thoroughly clean out this trap. But this area right here, you can add something to it to make it a lot easier to get back into your trap, and that is one of these 3/4 forks. And so you can do it like this, cut your PVC glue. This is not under pressure or anything like that, so you don't really need to cap this because it's just gravity. It's a gravity drain, basically all it is. So we'll install it there. Then you can run your cleaning tool in at that angle, and you're not at that really harsh 90-degree angle, and you can get back to your trap a lot easier. So if you have a little bit of experience using PVC, you can do that. This makes it super easy. These are a little bit hard to find. I had to order this online. I could not find it at my local hardware store. So this particular 3/4 fork, if you want one, I'll put a link in the description where you can get it shipped to you just in a matter of days. Now I want to talk for just a sec of what I'm putting in here. Now you can choose whatever strength of vinegar you want. This is just common kitchen vinegar right here. This is 45% concentration, and this is really high. This is 75%. These two, you need to be careful. You might want to wear a mask and protective eyewear because they are extremely acidic. So just remember that when you're using this, be careful about splashbacks or anything like that. But if you've got a heavily congested drain that hasn't been cleaned for a long time, these would probably work better. But if you're just doing your annual maintenance, your regular annual maintenance, just common kitchen white vinegar is going to help. So we're going to take what I've estimated to be the exact amount, which is about 2 cups based on how far it is from the beginning of the drain line to the exterior, and I'm going to fill that up. But the reason we put the cork in there is we want to fill the line up almost back to where it doesn't go back into the system, but it just sits there and it thoroughly cleans out the bacteria, mold, or anything like that. So again, go back and take a look at that mathematical calculation and tell me if I did my math correct on finding exactly how much fluid per 8 foot of PVC pipe it will hold as far as liquid goes, and then you can know for yourself, because sometimes these lines run for a long way, and if you know the distance, you can figure out mathematically how much liquid to put in there without having to worry about putting it back into your main system. All right, so we're going to carefully pour our white vinegar into the system, just our maintenance level. I think it's 3%, something like that, so you don't have to worry about so much about splashback on this or harming your eyes. And so we've put that into the system. We don't have to worry about it going back into the drain pan because of our interior pipe. We've put it right down here into the corner. It'll work its way down all the way to the end of the pipe. Now, one thing to remember, depending on how long it's been since you've done this, you may want to wait anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes to allow the vinegar to kill any bacteria, buildup, or any of that sludge that forms in the pipe along the way. So that's what the cork is for. It's going to hold that in place for anywhere from, like I said, 30 to 60 minutes. Now I've let this sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. I usually do this about once every 3 months, so I know there's a minimum buildup in here. But like I said, if it's been a long time since you've done this, or if you've never done it, give it up to 60 minutes. Let your air conditioner stay off for that amount of time and let it kill any of the growth inside of that. I'm going to show you something else that's really important once we remove the cork, and how to make sure that you get it completely cleaned out by doing the next step. So guys, the next step is going to be washing it over and over 3 times. We need to do this 3 times to make sure we've gotten all the debris out of the line. You're going to put the cork back into your PVC, and you're going to let it fill up with extremely hot water. Then you're going to quickly remove it and vacuum the water out so you can get a quick flush. You're going to do that 3 times. You'll fill, vacuum out, and refill, so that suction power will get anything that's inside of there. And you want to make sure, if you can't get a good seal on it, make sure you tape it there. But again, the cork is crucial in letting it fill up and that hot water to stay inside the line to allow it to break down whatever's growing in there, algae, bacteria. It's pretty slimy and sludgy. If you check your wet dry vac after you do this, you might be disgusted with what you see. So guys, the next thing we want to do is we want to spray these fins with a soap. I recommend using Castile soap. If you've never done this before, you may have to take the entire casing and carefully remove the top. It's a little bit more in-depth, detailed procedure. I'll put a link in the description exactly how to do that. But we want to clean these aluminum fins because they do collect a lot of dust over time. So if you've never done it, your fins are probably really dirty and you probably need to clean this out. But if it's been done before, you can probably get away with just using Castile soap, which is very biodegradable and safe for pets and children. But one thing to remember is never, ever, ever use a pressure washer on these fins. They can bend just from the pressure of a fingerprint. Once you've bent these, you're going to have to purchase a fin comb where you can straighten them back out. I'll put a link in the description if you've already done this. But just gently wash the soap off and you'll see a lot of dirty water coming out the bottom. So if you want to buy a specific product, there's an aerosol you can buy that says no wash, but I prefer to wash it just to make sure that it got everything. Again, I'll put that in the description as well. But a lot of the stuff you can find at your local hardware stores. I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible to get it to you as quickly as possible. So cleaning these aluminum fins on the outside is another thing that will drop the overall interior temperature, put less stress on your air conditioner, and it will run less, which will increase its lifespan. Now the next thing I want to talk about is filtration, and filtering for air quality is really not what we're aiming for here in the system, because we don't want to put a strain on the fan motor or the air handler, the squirrel cage, whatever type of fan's in there. We want to put as least amount of stress on it as possible, and using this type of filter, a MERV filter that doesn't have a super high number, is really okay, because I showed yesterday how to make a whole house filter that will make your air quality much better. That way you can, if you want to burn out an ordinary fan, you don't have to worry about one of these super expensive fans and you have to call a technician to come out and change it out. So take a look at that video. I'll put the link in the description. But using a MERV 1 lower number would actually be better, because we're just trying to catch the largest of particulates going through the system. So in the early 90s, when this system was put in, and this is the second generation system, they put in a huge accordion filter, and it put quite a strain on the system. So the fan was always cutting on. It seemed like it ran all night long, and I never did actually get to the temperature I wanted, which is generally 72, 73 in the summertime. So this filter, I've actually changed the interior parts of it to make it fit one of these 1-inch filters, and then that way I don't have the air handler struggling to push air throughout the house. And the amount of air coming out of the vents was really pathetic. So cutting down on your MERV number, you'll still get dust particles being captured, but only the largest of them. So if you want a whole house air filter, then get an air filter. But if you're wanting a central air conditioning that's performing its absolute best, then go with a lower MERV number. Even a 1 would be good. But don't forget, you still need that quality air in your house, and you can make one yourself or you can buy one online. So guys, at the end of this video, I'm going to link those two videos in the end cards. One is for how to make the filtration or the air quality enhancer, and it will remove massive amounts of dust from the air in your home. The other will be on cleaning the outside coil. So if you know how to use something as simple as a cork, it can make a huge difference, save you a lot of money, because those technicians do not come out for a very small amount of money. Usually when they leave, it's in the hundreds, if not thousands. So take a look at those two videos if you want to see more on getting your air conditioner running to its optimum level. But remember, maintenance is such an important thing when it comes to an air conditioner. I live here in the Southeast United States, and it is always hot here in the summertime, and air conditioner runs nearly 24 hours a day. But once you do this procedure, it's going to cut down the total number of hours it's running and save you a lot of money on electricity and a lot of money on maintenance. So if you want to, take a look at the Patreon link down below. I put that annual maintenance guide, and doing this maintenance, you may have to do it in the springtime just before the season begins, but the maintenance guide will give you all kind of tips in addition to what I talked about today, so you can download that at no charge. And if you want to become a patron, I would really appreciate that too. If you have a question about this video or any previous video, I hope you'll become a public subscriber first, because I get anywhere from 100 to 300 comments a day, and it's nearly impossible for me to answer them all. So I always give priority to any possible question from a subscriber, and I try to get to those first. So guys, I really appreciate you watching, and have a great day.